Let's go. It's Monday Night Football. The Packers play in T-minus 2 hours because the NFL hates us on the East Coast and wants me to not sleep. But here we are. It's me, Perry Goldstein. I'm with my lovely, amazing co-host, Maggie Loney. We are drinking matching beers today for our Monday Night Football showdown against the Falcons. Yes, we are, from our 4-box. That's not a sponsored ad. It's just me telling you where we got our beer from. It should be, but and we are your pregame show because the Packers play, like I said, in 2 hours against the 0-3 Falcons. The Packers are, as we know, 3-0, hoping to get to 4-0 before the bye week. But we have a lot to talk about because so much happened today. Devontae is out. That's all. Not happy about it, but I appreciate his competitive nature. I'll say that. We know that the Packers are typically very conservative when it comes to it. He has a bye week, so he guess has 2 weeks, and he'll be ready to go for Tampa Bay. We need Devontae Adams down the stretch in the playoffs and likely in the Super Bowl, so he needs to rest up now.
Hell yeah.
That's all we really know as of right now. The official, I think, inactives will come out halfway through the show, so we will be breaking that news, I guess. Likely, we have heard that Jair Alexander is playing. Kenny Clark is likely not. Rashawn Gary is likely not. Still questionable right now is your man Z, who I have a feeling will play.
He's playing.
He's
doing it for me.
He's doing it for Maggie, of course. Josiah DeGuara is still questionable. That would be huge if he could play. Maggie and I tonight are hoping we'll finally receive our 23 or 32 personnel sets. We have been crying for it all off season, season. It feels like the game tonight. I don't know about you, Maggie, but that's what it feels like. So how are you feeling?
I think Erin said it best on Twitter. She basically said the more that Twitter freaks out about the game, the more calm I feel. And I'm at the point where I'm just ready. And yeah. This Falcons offense is really good, and they're definitely benefiting from having Ridley and Jones. And I think that that's going to be a true test for this Packer secondary because they've kind of lucked out not going against guys like Michael Thomas. Justin Jefferson now it looks phenomenal, and he kind of had his first game growing pains against the Packers. So this is really kind of the test for the secondary. I'm really excited to see what the inside linebackers do because, as we know, Oren Burks is now kind of an outside linebacker who will probably be playing a little bit of that Rashawn Gary role this week. So there's a lot of pieces that I think are finally coming together. Like you said, we might get to see a little 23, a little 32, especially if Josiah DeGuara is back. He can do it all for the offense. So I'm ready. Let's get it.
I'm ready. I am too. I think let's start with the offense like we normally do because I think that's a little bit easier for us to talk about. Everyone was quite flipped out today over the fact that Devontae is again not playing, especially because we lost Alan Lazard this week, which was a little bit unexpected and honestly quite sad since he came off of such a career game. But we still have a lot of weapons. And I know that some people don't think that. They think that we have, a bad wide receiver group, but wide receivers aren't sorry, this Facebook user's comment is funny
probably
because you did tell me that your basement was freezing. So we have wide receivers are not the only offensive weapons in this game of football that we play. We have running backs and we have tight ends. And luckily for us, we have one of the best running backs in the league. We have a dynamic 1-2 punch with Jamal Williams, who we know has been working on the routes. So maybe we finally see some breakout Jamal Williams routes. We've got 2 tight ends who are finally, I think, getting into their groove in Bob Tonyan and Jay Sternberger. And like you said, if Josiah DeGuara plays, that's another X factor that we haven't seen since week 1. So I feel much better about the offense, even though we're not going to get Devontae Adams.
Yeah, and Mark kind of pointed it out already in the Twitter chat here, but this is a secondary for the Falcons that is without starting corners and starting safeties. So as much as we're kind of worried about the Packers not having weapons on offense, the Falcons are missing quite a few weapons on defense. Takk McKinley's out. I know Grady Jarrett, was questionable. He looks like he'll be playing tonight, so that's big for their defense, their front seven. But Takk McKinley being out is big. He leads the Falcons in pressures, so that's secondary. Leave it to Aaron Rodgers, who is right now on an MVP campaign. I almost said an MVS campaign. Maybe tonight. Maybe. On an MVP campaign to find guys like MVS. Darius Shepherd, he has raved about him. Reggie Begelton just got elevated to the actual roster today. So
we get to see what he can bring us. I think that we have to remember a little bit that the Packers are playing basically the Falcons' second string defense. And this is already a defense that is 32nd in most points allowed, and they're missing pretty much all of their starters. So definitely not worried about the offense. I think that they are, Matt LaFleur has found ways to win in different ways each game. I don't think this game is going to be any different. As Peter Bukowski said on Twitter today, Matt LaFleur should be considered an offensive weapon at this point because his play calling is so stellar and his game planning is so unique to his opponent that I think he's really going to pull it out. I really do think that we will see a lot of 22 personnel with MVS as the, kind of star Devontae Adams role as the one wide receiver, tons of Tanyan and Sternberger in. I would love, how much I love this, love to see Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams in the backfield together. I think your boy A.J. Dillon finally gets his touches. Matt LaFleur has said over the past week that he really wants to get him more involved in the rotation. And then, of course, we have Tyler Ervin, who is our in motion jet sweep end around guy. So there are multiple ways that the Packers can pick apart this, like you said, depleted secondary and banged up front seven.
Yeah, and I think what's going to be interesting going into tonight is, does MVS get the 1-7 treatment again, as he called it? So he is the pretty much only known commodity for this Packers receiving core right now, with Allen Lazard being out. And we saw last week what happened. He had the double teams, and then Allen Lazard feasted against the Saints, had a career game. Unfortunately hurt his core muscle in the process. But if MVS gets this same kind of 1-7 treatment again, and he's got blanket coverage all night, Reggie Begelton looked good in training camp. Darius Shepherd is coming on. Malik Taylor, we haven't gotten to see a lot of yet. He's only played a couple snaps on offense, but kind of what the rest of the receiving core can do if MVS is taken out of the picture, just in addition to the tight ends and the running backs, because people know who Aaron Jones is. Defenses know, they've seen already what Bob Tonyan can do. Mercedes Lewis already has a touchdown this season, which is exciting. So kind of, I think, seeing what the unknown commodities can do for this Packers offense is going to be the key tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And if MVS is getting those sort of double teams, then we've talked about this before, it takes just another defender away from whoever else is getting that target. And so when you get a guy maybe like Aaron Jones split out wide, we love an Aaron Jones against a linebacker, unless it's Eric Kendricks. Then he's shifty enough to break a tackle and get tons of yards after the catch. I do think that yards after the catch is going to be huge for this team, as well as the way Matt LaFleur schemes guys open, especially with receivers, like you said, who have very limited snaps, or as we know with Reggie Begelton, his first career NFL game, Monday Night Football, prime time. Like, can you talk about a bigger stage? So it's going to be huge the way Matt LaFleur gets these guys open. And of course, we never worry about Aaron Rodgers and his arm and his accuracy. I think that's one thing that we are very fortunate as Packers fans to be able to rely on, is we have an MVP first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback who he knows how to pick apart those defenses. So I'm feeling good about the offense for sure. It is Jamal Williams time, Big B. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Also for my fantasy team, we hope that he
fingers crossed.
So anything else about the offense, like a player that you're watching really closely, or anything specific that you really hope Matt LaFleur does tonight?
I'm just excited to see what he does with his backfield. You talked about it a little bit already, how we're looking for like a little bit of 32, 31 personnel with all of his guys out on the field at once. But the thing that we know about A.J. Dillon is that he didn't get to touch the ball a lot in the passing game, receiving game. in college because he wasn't asked to do it. So I'm really curious to see kind of what those formations look like, whether it's 22, 21, 31. If they 13. Have multiple, if there's a ton of guys out there at once, is AJ Dillon ever going to split out wide? Where's Jamal Williams going to line up? Aaron Jones in the slot, you're going to put Aaron Jones out wide. So I think that's kind of what I'm excited to see from the offense is specifically the running backs and how Matt LaFleur uses all those guys, especially when there's multiple on the field. Because if AJ Dillon splits out wide, I might have a heart attack. You're going to have to check on me.
I will check your Mark, check your pulse.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think we have a really versatile running back room. I think all four guys, whether you want to consider Tyler Ervin a running back or not, can really add different things. And they've said they want Tyler Ervin to be that sort of hybrid running back wide receiver, as I like to call it, the reverse Ty Montgomery. And so that could be something that we finally see tonight. I feel like Matt LaFleur has some tricks up his sleeve. I feel like the way he talks about certain players, he has plans for them that he hasn't pulled out of his hat yet, especially with guys like Ervin and AJ Dillon and Josiah DeGuara, where his eyes twinkle a little bit when he talks about them. And so he might be pulling into that bag of tricks. I would not be surprised, honestly, if he gives Rodgers a little bit of leeway this game, in terms of, maybe audibling at the line, calling his own plays. We're home. I know that the home field advantage isn't as real on a COVID setting, but Rodgers knows this team really well. And we've played the Falcons many times in settings like this, Monday night, primetime, division round, playoffs. So I think that they're going to be very aligned together tonight in their play calling.
Yeah, and I don't know if you feel the same way. This might just be a me thing. Feel free to chime in in the comments. But when I think of historic Packers-Falcons game, even if the outcome wasn't good, I think about Aaron Rodgers with Trevor Davis and Jeff Janis and Jared Abbrederis. And I think of the magic that he was still able to make happen with
Ladarius Gunter.
Don't talk about that. We're just talking about the offense. But I mean, I think this is setting the stage. It just feels, I don't know, maybe I'm too big into signs and stuff like that, but it just feels like a good breakout game for some of these Packers players. Yeah. Anytime you play the Falcons, to me, that's what I think of is the guys like Trevor Davis who had their first
their career games. Yeah. I think of Tramon Williams' amazing interception in the.
That's
Oh boy. Okay, so I guess that's a good segue, into the defense. And you and I talked about this pre-show that this is a game that's going to be huge for our secondary.
Yeah.
Jair Alexander, like I mentioned earlier, is likely playing. I would be shocked, honestly, if he wasn't. We have Kevin King, and then of course we have our safeties, Savage, Amos. I imagine Pettin is going to play his nickel and dime like he does every game, with Will Redmond, Raven Green, Chandon Sullivan rotating in as those extra DBs. This is the game for the secondary. Going up against Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, this is the defense that Mike Pettin this is the offense that Mike Pettin plans his defense around, is the big play, big wide receiver game. So big stage, I think, for the secondary. We've been a little concerned about the way our safeties have been playing. I think this has to be a get-right game for them. There can't be missed coverages. There can't be blown tackles against two wide receivers like this, because they will gash us if they play like that.
Yeah, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. I think that we probably agree, but to me, it feels very much like Kevin King is going to kind of shadow Julio Jones, and then Jair is going to be on Calvin Ridley, because you need that speed with Calvin Ridley. So I think I would expect them to kind of shadow. I know that they normally kind of just play their own side, but I think tonight those are going to be kind of the premier matchups that we're seeing. And I think, like you said, there's going to be a lot of help over the top with Amos.
They do switch sides, I think. Stay on the same side. And I think that might be something that they still do. I personally would love to watch Jair go up against Julio. However, I think the size matchup works out better with Kevin King. I think that's a more even matchup, and agreed, the aggressiveness and the speed that Jair brings for Calvin Ridley would make sense. I would love to see them play more man-to-man, press man at the line of scrimmage coverage than they normally do, rather than their kind of stick to their sides of the field. But we'll see what kind of game planning Pettine does. I think that's one of his downfalls this season is not having, as much as we love the way Matt LaFleur makes unique, specific game plans in the offense, I think that's something Pettine does not do well. So maybe he's listening to us. I don't know. Probably not. But that's what we would like
right now in the locker room.
Right now. He's like, oh, shit. I got to do that.
I never miss happy hour.
Let me change my plan. No, but this has been a game that I've had marked on my calendar for ever since the schedule came out, ever honestly since we knew who the opponents were, not even the schedule came out, as a game that's going to be if you're in the camp like we are, that we believe Jair Alexander is that, top 3, top 5 all-pro cornerback in the league. This is the game where he shows it. This is the game where he says, I can go up against anybody you assign me to, and I can shut them down. And who better to do it against? Arguably, I think one of the best wide receiver tandems in the league.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch it a little bit, and I want to talk about another matchup.
I could talk about the secondary forever, so
I know
I
gotta
cut me off.
Yeah, but I think what I'm most excited for with this defense, I could talk about Za'Darius Smith infinitely, the same way you could talk about the secondary, but to me, one of the matchups to watch is going to be Ty Summers in the communication helmet. And Hayden Hurst is not a slouch. I know you wanted him for Green Bay kind of early in the free agency period before he went to Atlanta, but not only is he kind of coming in, he came in lukewarm against the Saints and had to wear the communication helmet, ended up leading the team in tackles, made some really impressive, plays, and now he's back tonight. We assume he's going to be the starter. He's going to be the every down guy. I know now my friends are here and they're fucking up the chat, but
I was looking at my dad because your dad is honestly spot on. But anyway, keep going.
But no, it's going to be Ty Summers and Hayden Hurst, and we haven't had in Green Bay this kind of explosive athlete in the middle of the field. And I think we kind of saw a little bit of that in Chris Barnes, and that was so exciting. So if Chris Barnes and Ty Summers are out there at the same time, like that's a lot of speed and athleticism in the middle of this defense that this defense isn't accustomed to. So I think that matchup is going to be big tonight, especially, even in the run defense with a guy like Todd Gurley.
Yes. It's also a lot of inexperience. Yeah. Which, again, I would not say is necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, that doesn't mean they're not going to step up. But I still feel like that middle of the field coverage makes me nervous, especially this Falcons offense, save from Hayden Hurst, has been together for at least a couple of seasons. And Todd Gurley is another vet that I feel like you can plug him into an offense and he knows what to do. So I think that you're right. It is going to be a test for a guy like Ty Summers, who basically has only played 3/4 of a game as the guy with the helmet on. Again, he's had all week to practice. So, hopefully he's picked it up and he knows what he needs to do. But our starting inside linebackers is being Ty Summers and Chris Barnes, Ty Summers being a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I try to be optimistic, but it is slightly worrisome and just something to definitely watch for, especially against, we can talk about the Falcons running game, which I think is actually quite weak. But I think Todd Gurley is someone that we can actually handle tonight. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I agree. And I think it's interesting, like when we talk about the inside linebackers at this point, the fact that, Kamal Martin is another really explosive athlete that we're hoping to get back sooner, maybe a couple weeks after the bye. But the fact that Oren Burks is now just playing with the outside linebackers, I don't think he's really in the rotation tonight as far as covering the middle of the defense. And especially if Rashawn Gary isn't playing, Randy Ramsey is on the active roster. He likely will see some reps tonight, Jonathan Garvin, but I think Oren Burks is going to kind of be in that role. He looked really comfortable rushing off the edge, and he does bring a more dynamic speed. He's pretty versatile. And it's kind of interesting to think that maybe all along he was just playing out of position, but he also played a little bit of safety at Vandy. So
what I just thought of that I think is interesting, and I don't know, it's going to come out, it's the first time it's ever coming out of my mouth, but we know Preston Smith has been dropping into coverage so much more this season than before. And I don't think it's something that he's necessarily been quite good at. But I think Oren Burks can actually be that sort of rush the passer a little bit, but he's that outside linebacker that should be dropping into coverage because he's the freaky athlete, high RAS score, sideline to sideline speed that actually may be able to match up with a guy like Todd Gurley if he drops into coverage. And then you let Preston Smith rush the passer, which is what he's good at. Rush the quarterback, get pressure.
Yeah. And I mean, I looked at, it was Pro Football Focus, so I don't know if you're one of those take it with a grain of salt people, but if you look at Zadarius Smith's pressure numbers, they're down significantly from his 2019 season. And we talked about this on Packs What She Said. We kind of talk about it every week, where it's just this defense, without Kenny Clark, with Christian Kirksey being injured now, trying to find a piece at middle linebacker. They're playing out of position. You have Zadarius kind of as your roaming nose. You have Preston dropping into coverage. And I think that's just a testament to their abilities and their versatility. But when Kenny Clark is back, like we saw what Kingsley Keke can do, I think we should talk about him next. But, hoping that he builds on that performance. There's a lot of players that are building. But when you have talented guys like Z and Preston, you move them around because they're capable of doing so much.
Yeah, I think that even though Z and Preston are so versatile and Pettine feels like he can do a lot with them, doesn't mean he necessarily should. Keep them doing what they're excellent at. And what they're excellent at, we actually haven't been really hitting home with. They each don't have a ton of, it's week 4. They don't really have, I think Zadarius has 2 sacks. Yep. Preston has a half, 1. They're not getting home. And I think we both agree that it is partially because Kenny is missing and that interior pressure is missing. But if a guy like Kingsley Keke has another performance like he did last week where he is getting that interior pressure, then we should see Zadarius and Preston getting to Matt Ryan tonight. And I think, again, with a Falcons offense that is so predicated on the pass and the big play to Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, getting and rattling Matt Ryan is going to be a key to this game. That pass rush is going to help our secondary immensely.
Yeah, and I can't remember who said it on Twitter, but somebody had mentioned that this game kind of feels eerily similar to the Eagles game last season, where it was a really close game. Devontae went out, they weren't able to convert, and they ended up taking their first loss of the season heading into the bye. And I can get that mentality, I get that line of thinking, but at the same time, this is a different Packers team. It's a more developed and established offense. We don't have Devontae Adams likely, but I think that this is going to be a hungry Falcons team. The Falcons are better than their 0-3 record. We've talked about that. We know that they really should be 2-1, but good teams find a way to close out and finish games. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing more from the Packers this season that we haven't actually been able to see from the Falcons. So if this Packers team can go 4-0 into the bye and then return to go to Tampa Bay with Devontae and Kenny.
Yeah. I don't know if I feel like the Falcons are going to be hungry or if they're going to be deflated. It really could go either way, and it shouldn't matter because the Packers should come out hungry and wanting to be 4-0 no matter what kind of attitude the Falcons have. But I can see a world where the Falcons are just coming off 2 of the most demoralizing losses that you could ever watch, honestly, and just maybe Dan Quinn is on the hot seat. Maybe they feel like they're about to lose their coach. Who knows what their attitude is, but we got to beat them down even further.
That's why I love you. But no, that Falcons Bears game was one of the ugliest football games I think I can remember. And so, and this is not a Bears show, but
it wasn't good football. I'd say that.
And I mean, this is a Falcons team that's dealing with a lot of injuries. So as many excuses as Packers fans want to make about not having a lot of confidence in the wide receiving core, maybe not knowing, how the defense is going to hold up against guys like Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones.
Yeah.
We saw earlier in the comments, this is a Falcons defense that's missing almost its entire starting secondary. So you just can't make excuses in this league because when they go play the 49ers in a couple weeks, that's a team that's not going to have Nick Bosa. It happens to everybody. And you might say that other teams are lucking out by not playing the Packers when they don't have Devontae Adams and Kenny Clark. So
it goes, you're right. I was just gonna say it goes both ways, right? The Falcons could be sitting there and saying, oh my God, we caught a break. They don't have Devontae Adams. They don't have Kenny Clark. They don't have Rashawn Gary. It goes both ways. And the game of football just means injuries. And good teams play through and win games with their depth. And so we'll see that tonight. If the Packers can do that, I think that they can. it's less about personnel to me, and this has been a reoccurring theme for me, I think, all season so far, is it's less about personnel on defense to me and more about the way Pettine deploys them. And I do think that this is the kind of offense that we game plan for.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still, with the way the safeties have been playing and the way our pass rush hasn't quite been A+ like it was last season, I think it's going to be a high scoring game.
Yeah, so that was a question I think earlier in the comments, and I don't know if we're ready to switch to taking questions, but
yeah, let's do it.
Do you think that this is another, I think the question was 30+, but the Packers are putting up 35+ each week. The Falcons are giving up 36 a week. We talked about our final score predictions on Packs What She Said, and I think that we maybe undersold it a little bit considering, or all things considered. So do you think the Packers put up 30+ points this week?
Yeah, I do. Okay. Do I think it's going to be the 45 points that I predicted? Probably not. But I think it's going to be a closer game than I predicted. I think it'll be more like 35-28, 35-30, 33-30, somewhere in that range. Unfortunately, with injuries, I think it will be a close game. But no, Packers definitely put up more than 30 points.
Okay, just checking.
How do you feel?
I think I said 35, 21, 24. I don't remember, but I feel like it'll be a one-score game. And I think that, I saw a couple comments on Twitter earlier about, is this the measuring stick for Mike Pettine? And like, if the Packers were to lose this game, if the defense doesn't look good, do you let go of your defensive coordinator? And I don't think that's the case. I don't think when you're a winning team that has a realistic shot at the playoffs and a deep playoff push, let alone just making the playoffs, you don't make changes like that in-house. You do it if you're the Texans and you're 0-4 and everything is a clusterfuck. Then you let go of your head coach / GM. But no, I think Mike Pettine.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of mid-season. I'm not a fan of mid-season coaching changes. I'm not, unless like there's something horribly gone wrong, which we have not seen that even close to that with the Packers. So no. And it's only week 4.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to see Pettine. I don't know. I joked about this last Sunday, but like that third drive adjustment that he like seems to make after like he sees what the offense has got, and then he's like, okay, let me do this differently. Like, do it on the second drive or do it mid first drive. Like, don't wait for them to score 14 points on you.
Well, and like he did it well in the Lions game. Shannon Sullivan had said like, we got chewed out at the half. We knew that we were a better team than this, and we proved that in the second half. The Saints, I mean, you could argue that the Za'Darius kind of strip sack was like the defining play of the game. So his defense is capable of making those plays, but I think that you and I are like, maybe we're kind of beating around this point here, but it's, don't wait for the big play. Like, you should just be playing solid football without needing like some giant momentum swing, because the talent on the defense is there. You have an incredibly loaded secondary. You have an incredibly loaded front seven. So yeah, I mean, there are playmakers that you should just be expecting to make plays for the defense.
Yes, and scheme it so that your playmakers are the ones who are in the position to make plays. Like,
absolutely.
I would be shocked tonight if Jair or Kevin didn't get an interception. Like, that's an expectation for those guys at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hi, Dan, first timer here. Happy to have you. Thank you for joining us. We are looking forward to the game. We do have some questions. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, this is the new problem now with the live show when the beer fridge is behind. It's when people come and need beer.
What wide receiver do you think is going to have the biggest game? Thanks for joining, Joey. We did touch on the offense a little bit. I think it's going to be MVS. I think the expectation should be that it's MVS, given that he's now wide receiver 1 this game.
Yeah. And I mean,
you agree?
It's just hard to like go into this game saying, oh, I think Darius Shepard's going to put up like 120 yards, 1 touchdown, like 7 receptions. Like, I think that the expectation has to be like MVS is the front runner now, so we would expect him to have the most productive game and to make the plays. But because of that, maybe it is a guy like, maybe this is the Malik Taylor breakout game that none of us have expected and are waiting for. So
yeah,
I feel like, the smart money says MVS, but ideally it wouldn't be him because we're thinking he gets the 1-7 treatment.
Yeah. And I think, okay, so this question also makes me think about, like there's a tight end or a running back that's going to shine. I actually think that this is going to be like a little bit like the Raiders game last season where Rodgers really spread the ball out around. And that's the way that we're going to beat this Falcons defense is like you said, MVS may get that Devontae Adams double team coverage. We need to attack them using all of our weapons tonight because we are missing our first and second best wide receivers. But I think that is something that we're very equipped to do. And we've seen it work. We've seen, we talked about this earlier, but we've seen Jamal and Aaron Jones in the passing game. I have a lot of confidence after watching last week that Bob Tonyan and Jay Sternberger will also get involved. So I think that it's a spread the ball around kind of night.
Yeah, I've been kind of just waiting to see what the injury report looks like because honestly, I've had that's who the beer is for upstairs. But I've had this tweet sitting in my drafts that it's going to be Matt LaFleur is who let the big dog out. But I don't know if he's going to be able to play this week because he's doubtful. So.
Last week with the touchdown.
I know, but if he gets more than 1 touchdown, then Matt LaFleur let the dogs out.
I know, I got it. I mean, I hope he plays. And that's, you joke, but you bring up a good point is that losing 2 guys like Mercedes Lewis and Alan Lazard, who are our best blockers, is definitely a loss. And I know our offensive line has been playing well, and I expect them to play well. I'm interested to see if Corey Linsley plays tonight or if Lucas Patrick is going to be in at center. Either way, I think we're okay. Our offensive line has definitely been.
Are you ready? I got it live.
Is it out? You're out. All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Inactives tonight: Jordan Love, Devontae Adams, Perry Nickerson, Rashawn Gary, Mercedes Lewis, Kenny Clark. So
Z is playing. Linsley is playing.
Deguara is
playing. Yes! Yeah. Let's go. We're going to get that 32 personnel.
I'm going to mail you a Josiah Deguara jersey because this is a level of hype.
I'm such a fan. He's so exciting. Like anyone who during the draft period was like, oh, we drafted an H-back in the 3rd round. Like, no, we didn't. We drafted a gadget. That's what they're called
fun of on Twitter by a former bachelor because of Josiah Deguara, and I'm not over it. I haven't recovered.
Bachelor, yet. I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. Oh well, he was on a reality TV dating show and didn't win. So if you really take him seriously, like please.
He broke up with the person that he picked. So I'm sorry, Nick Vial. You can come on Pax What She Said anytime, and we'll talk football with you.
No, we love Nick Vial. I lost my train of thought.
I know.
Okay, so we've got, all right, so we'll repeat it. We've got Josiah Deguara playing. We've got Corey Linsley playing. We've got Za'Darius Smith playing, which is huge. Rashawn Gary is not playing, which we kind of already knew. Kenny Clark, which we already knew. That means Jair Alexander is a go as well. And no Mercedes Lewis. But again, like what we were just saying, with the blocking, someone's going to have to step up in that department now that Josiah Deguara is playing. I feel a little bit better about that. But blocking is a huge, huge part of Matt LaFleur's offense. We've known that. We've seen that. Guys like Jay Sternberger have talked about it. So your dad is drinking the same beer as us, and I'm just...
I know. This is like...
I'm loving it right now.
I showed him how to put his name in the comments, so now he's living his best life.
He is. Thank you for joining us, Fred. I can't wait to tailgate at Lambeau with you. But I think that those guys are going to have to step up in the blocking game if we want the run game to run. I could have thought of a better word, and I just said run game run.
This is what you get when you expect us to do the pre-show. Like, we want to watch football and drink beer.
Football. But the run game, running the ball down their throats is going to be, I think, a huge piece of this game. Aaron Jones, book it. I'm playing against him in fantasy. I don't even care if I lose. If he gets 3 touchdowns, go for it.
All right, so the entire trio, but I guess we can call it like a what? The quadruplets? The quad. That there's a quad joke in there somewhere, but between Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, AJ Dillon, Tyler Ervin, over or under 150 yards on the ground.
Combined?
Okay, 200. 200 just felt like a lot, so I like
200 is hard. Over 150. But
all
under,
right, so we're like,
yeah, over 150. Yeah. Between the four of them, yeah. Do I call the hot take and say that Aaron Jones is going to have a hat trick tonight?
That's not even a hot take anymore. That's just who Aaron Jones is.
He does that all the time.
We have people from Brazil here. That's amazing.
Brazil? Oh my God, welcome. Wait, how do you say that in Portuguese? Obrigado? I don't know.
That's you just totally outclassed me in every sense of the word. But
one of my old roommates is Brazilian and speaks Portuguese, and so I used to hear it in my apartment all the time. Well, welcome. Anyway, thank you so much for joining. That's exciting. Awesome. We are now an hour and 25 minutes out from kickoff. Oh, I got it right. Yay.
You're right.
Aw. Any other questions from people? I think people are just listening to us like goof off at this point.
I know, they're just like, what is going on?
Just so you're, yeah. Special teams, that means J.K. Scott is active. If he was not in that inactive list.
Because I'm pumping anyway tonight, it's fine.
True, we don't even need him.
Nobody, I'm not mentally stable enough to be old takes exposed. But
no, you don't like going viral on Reddit.
I don't have experience in that, but some of us do.
We've got the whole Lawler crew up in here. Go Pack Go is right. What other thoughts do we have about this game?
You're on the East Coast. We talked about how we're going to be drinking some coffee tonight. Maybe some espresso liqueur.
I don't understand why they do this to us. Like, you can't start a game at 9 p.m. for me. That's mean.
Yeah, I agree. If you are enjoying what's happening right now, give us a thumbs up. We strive to be your favorite part of the week here on Monday night happy hour. We encourage you to bring your beverages, come chill with us, or your juice boxes. The Packers always bring the juice.
45 in total right now.
Yeah, we hit 70.
All right, someone wants to have a big Dean Lowry game tonight.
Yeah,
great. Yeah, all the players can have big nights. I root for all of our players, no matter where they fall on the depth chart. Step up. I'd love to see a Dean Lowry tree trunk batted down pass. Love to see that.
I feel like Dean Lowry, like, he's in one of those precarious situations now where because he got a mega contract, or mega like by his caliber standards, he's always going to be like unfairly critiqued, where you see, people talk about Mike Daniels left early, Brian Balaga's maybe left a little early, but like all of these were smart money decisions. But if paying Dean Lowry what you're paying him was maybe not a smart money decision, but he's still like a solid-ish player for your defense, I think that's all he needs to be, is solid-ish. Like, look at Billy Turner. Like, he got paid more money than you would think you would pay a starting right guard, right tackle, wherever he ends up lining up. It's been right tackle, but sometimes you forfeit money to secure the ish guys because you can't go out and pay
the big guys. Yeah, 100%. And Dean Lowry is, like you said, he's solid. He's exactly what you want him to be. He plays in the snaps that he needs to. He gets the job done. You very rarely hear his name called for missed assignments. That's why we have Kenny Clark. That's why we pay Kenny Clark $75 million, or however much it was, $70 million.
That's so much.
Why
do we do the job that we do, Perri? Why aren't we defensive linemen?
I would need to gain like 300 pounds and grow like a full foot. So we both would. Yes.
Thank you.
I didn't mean it like that. Well, someone's here from Ireland, so I wanted to say hey. Thanks for joining us. Mark, the beer's phenomenal and also very strong. That's my mid.
So good.
So good. highly recommend.
The Holy Hermit. It's AKA me during quarantine in Wisconsin.
Yeah, same in New York City.
But Aaron, we're gonna save the pick six for next week against Tom Brady. Or 2 weeks, just to keep, because he's as Jacob Westendorf calls him, the fraudulent goat.
No comment. But tonight, I think that, because I actually have a lot of respect for Tom Brady, I think it's an East Coast thing. I don't know.
It's
it's like the way I hate when people like say bad things about Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, I get it, but also like you can't discredit what he's done. And that's kind of how I feel about Tom Brady. It's like, yeah, I hate that he has 6 rings. It's bullshit, but like can't discredit what he's done.
No, I get it. It's just a Mama Westendorf and Jacob Westendorf thing. So
fair. And a Blake Westendorf thing.
Blake the queen.
I just love Blake. Okay, who's gonna get a pick 6 tonight? Do I say Jair every week just because I try to will it into existence?
It's gonna be Preston Smith dropping into coverage.
Okay, if that happens, I will never talk about it ever again. I will never say anything.
Chug a off ice on happy hour.
Fine. If Preston Smith gets a pick 6 tonight, I will ice myself next week on happy hour.
You'll just set it down in front of yourself and just
bucket. I will gladly do it because that would be amazing.
So here for it.
Sack count tonight. 3.
I was gonna say 2.
Yeah, I'd say Z and P get 1 each. Maybe a shared one together.
They do everything together.
They do everything. Maybe a good sack celebration coming up for prime time.
Hell yeah. They got to be thinking about it.
Maybe Kiki. Maybe Kingsley will get one in there.
Kingsley could get another 2, honestly. No, absolutely not, Janelle. We would never do that to Perry. We would never do this to Perry.
Do you know how long it has taken me to get my hair to this length? Nope. It's all quarantine. I haven't cut my hair. My curls are finally back.
What did we disagree on? Was it the Preston Smith thing? I don't remember.
I don't know.
It happens so infrequently that we don't even know how to handle it when it happens.
This is a really awesome question. I actually was wondering this because if Jair wasn't a go, would that mean that Josh Jackson would take his place, or would someone like Chandon Sullivan slide over and have Josh be in the slot? With all of our starters in, I don't know if I see Josh Jackson getting a ton of snaps, but potentially in some dime packages, yes, they work him in tonight. Give the guys a rest. I imagine they'll be working their butts off in the secondary tonight.
Like, it shouldn't be that the iconic Josh Jackson play in my mind is special teams, but it is. It's the Gmo and Josh Jackson. Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think that's kind of his role until we figure out what's going on with Kevin King. And I don't want to get Perry started on the secondary and a second contract for Kevin King. So we're not gonna do that. But that could be what's up next for Josh Jackson.
I mean, if he makes a play, we did disagree. Oh, okay.
I just don't like Tom Brady. So
I'm sorry. No, it's fine. You're allowed. I get it. I mean, I think special teams might be another key, and this brings up a really good point here, is like field position, time of possession. Like, these are all things that we have done very well at and have dominated. We haven't had any self-inflicted wounds, as they say. And that's really important to win a game like this. We need to play clean football. J.K. Scott was out with an illness, so he is a go. He's active. He's fine. It wasn't COVID related. So we will have our weapon. As Maggie likes to say, we're not going to be punting tonight, so it won't matter.
It's true.
But, field position, and if we get the run game going and we can really, really take control of the time of possession of the game, that can be huge.
I mean, I think that, it's been kind of a trend in the first 3 weeks of the season, but I don't know if I see this as the game the Packers give up another turnover. You talked about playing clean football in a depleted secondary against the Falcons. I think that the Packers have another straight week of protecting the football very well. And, I'm going to knock on wood because I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious, but I just, I want to cover all my bases there. So see, Mama,
I mean, Rodgers is So Rodgers is so turnover adverse, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that it's necessarily going to be like a Nick Mullins really bad interception like we saw last night. If anyone watched the 49ers game, that was bad. But, a forced fumble or, you know what I mean? Like punch the ball. Like there are other ways defenses can force turnovers. I do not foresee the Falcons having the personnel or the ability to do that tonight. But the Packers also need to have, a clean football game. Hold on to the ball. To the ball.
I will, Perri. I will. But no, I mean, Aaron Rodgers had said too, like, this is kind of the offense. He talked about Matt LaFleur kind of building this rhythm, and the offense was in a really good flow. And I think we're going to see more of that, especially with, he probably will be a little adverse to taking as many deep shots to a security blanket like Davante Adams. So I think we're going to see the offense in rhythm. I think that there's going to be sustained drives. I think time of possession is going to be huge in this game against the Falcons. And I'm pretty sure it was 4 for 5 in the red zone last week against the Saints. Yeah. And finishing drives, we talked about last year with the Packers versus the Lions. The Packers were not in those games except for the Lions kicking field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. So if it gets down to the red zone and the Packers are able to hang on just a little bit, and the Falcons have a backup kicker in this week. So if they're able...
Young Kuhu isn't kicking?
He was doubtful last I saw, so I don't know if he moved to IR, but if that is the case, I mean, that's going to be the key here, is making them work for their points. And both defenses have kind of proven that they're giving up points in the red zone. So we talked about it as a key point against the Saints, and I think it's the same this week. If you get in the red zone, you have to score a touchdown. And that's going to be the key to winning this game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, punch it in. Score all the points.
AJ Dillon first touchdown of his career.
Are you calling it? Are you locking it down? In the jersey?
Yeah, but I'm not going to ice myself on happy hour because I love myself.
I mean, the chances that I have to do that are so slim. That's why I took it. And again, if I need to, then that means that Preston Smith had a pick 6. So it's a win-win, I think.
I'm not icing myself because I love myself. Okay. I don't know what else to say.
I love myself too. All right. Okay. I think it's time that we wrap up. So Maggie and I will be watching. What are some highlights of what we'll be watching for? Aaron Rodgers spreading the ball around, running backs getting involved, tight ends getting involved, Packers pass rush getting to Matt Ryan pass rush.
If you see any 23 or 32 personnel, you need to tweet at both of us
because we are waiting for it.
So hype. That is our brand. We don't really have a brand aside from
23 and 32 personnel.
I don't know what that says about us, but we're ready. So
we are innovative and visionary and love heavy sets.
I don't know. Offensive coordinators in the NFL.
We just love the heavy sets. I don't know how else to say it. And Jair Alexander. I will be watching Jair Alexander all night as I normally do. Sure. But I am ready for him to show the league that he is number one.
Yeah. Who better to do it against than Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley?
Exactly. So thank you all for joining us. We cannot wait for this game. As you can probably tell, we are hype. We have about an hour and change to go until kickoff. You're not hype?
No, that was me saying a little more than an hour. This was the change.
Okay. We have 1 hour and 12 minutes until kickoff. Yep. I need to be specific, apparently. And we are still picking the Packers to win this game, not because we are homers, but we think that the depleted 0-3 Falcons upsetting us tonight would be shitty. and kind of unlikely. So get ready for a great Monday night game. The Chiefs and the Pats are on. Stay tuned the rest of the week for all of Game On Wisconsin's shows. We've got Freezer. We've got the Jamal Williams show. If you want to donate to the Jamal Williams fundraiser, the link is at the Game On Wisconsin Twitter. He's fundraising for a great cause and joining Game On Wisconsin for that cause. So please go and help him out. Who else we got this week? We got Lombardi's Bar, Open Book. Open Book is great. Do not forget to check out Open Book. I don't know what the bet is this week for Freezer, but there's always some kind of bet where Sanjay loses and has to do something. So that's always entertaining. And yeah, check out Game On Wisconsin on Twitter. You can follow me at Perri_Goldstein. You can follow Maggie at Maggie J. Loney. And go Pack Go. Go Pack Go.
Plug our podcast quick.
Oh, we also every week, you could have done it. Every week we podcast as, if you don't know this already, I mean, I just don't know what to tell you. If you actually watch us at this Monday and you don't listen to Pack's What She Said, I'm going to be mad at you. And so we podcast together, Pack's What She Said at PWSS Podcasts. It's definitely a more serious side, diving into the games every week and show previews. If you enjoy us being silly here and you don't like the serious stuff, sorry, but it's definitely a little bit more analytical, definitely a little more football and a little less beer.
How dare you?
I said a little. I didn't say no beer. So please follow us on Twitter, subscribe, like the podcast. It's our pride and joy. And thank you all for joining again. As always, I'm Perri Goldstein and this is Maggie Loney. We are